Hello and welcome to the Visonic PowerMaster PM33 training video. As you can see from this slide, the PM33 is physically different to the PM10 and the PM30 panels you'll be more used to. In fact, in operation and programming it's almost identical. So what does this panel do? Well, a quick look down this list will tell us. 64 wireless zones, 3 partitions, 48 user codes, up to 10 KP250 keypads, we'll see these shortly, 32 key fobs, 32 proximity tags, up to 8 wide wireless sirens. These can be a mixture of either internal or external, and also supports 1 hardwired siren, up to 4 repeaters, and has built-in GPRS communication so it can communicate with your central stations. Once we power up the panel, the LCD display in the centre of the panel will light up. The green power light indicates if it's on, that the power is present and OK. If that light is blinking, it indicates that the battery has a low charge. If the light's off altogether, then obviously we have no power. The green check light is an indicator of whether the panel is ready to arm or not. If it's on steady, then it's ready to arm, all partitions ready. If it's no lights on, then it's not ready. It means that at least one partition is not ready to arm. The padlock is similar, the same in fact, as a PM10 and a PM30. In away mode, it's on steady. In home mode, it will be blinking. And in no lights, it means the panel is disarmed. The spanner, or the wrench, is new to us. The spanner is a visual indication that the panel is working and updating and doing something. The orange trouble light, again, is the same as you're all used to. If it's on, the system has trouble. If it's off, there's no trouble and the system is ready to arm. This is the main difference. Here's the KP250 keypad. Again, as you can see, it's supported by the 10, 30 and 33 panels. The only thing is that they have to be version 18 and above for this keypad to work with them. It comes supplied with all your PowerMaster 33 kits. In fact, it replaces a keypad on the front of the 10 or the 30 panel. It has full installer and user manuals. These are displayed clearly on a 2-line LCD display. It has a built-in proximity reader and integrated sounder. In fact, this is the only sounder on this panel. So normally it will be supplied with an internal sounder as well. Has entry-exit beeps, a back tamper, has a keypad backlight, and is currently operated by 4 1.5 volt AA batteries. This slide shows that the panel is designed to be hidden away, out the way somewhere. The keypad can be up to 100 meters away from the panel. In the case of ADT, we will use a GPRS cellular network to communicate with the ARC. The same rules apply to the PM33 as to any other Visonic panel. In the case of the panel, it should be mounted near an AC power source. As we don't use a PSTN line, then that following point doesn't apply. It also needs to be where we can get a good cellular coverage for the network. And again, should be at least 1 meter away from any sources of RF interference and any large metal objects. This slide shows the similarities between the PM33 and the other panels you'll be more used to. The biggest difference is that the PM33 does not have voice prompts like the PM30 panel does. Same technology, the PowerMaster technology, as the other panels. The full two-way communication, the time synchronized division, and the frequency hopping and the encryption, all making this panel as robust and as hard to jam as possible. Once again, if you've worked with the other panels, you'll be familiar with this. The panel should be in a central location where we can get a good GPRS signal. You should all be equipped with your GPRS testers to ensure that you can do this. The sensors should be sited at the correct height and away from any large metal objects. In fact, in some cases we know that we can fit these sensors actually to metal doors. It will reduce the range a little, but the devices will still operate correctly and should work OK. This slide points out how to locate the panel away from any large metal objects or sources of interference, remembering of course that power lines can also give interference. If you have to use a repeater, then the repeater should be mid-distance between the panel and the device you're trying to connect to. The device will automatically connect to the repeater or to the panel, whichever is giving the strongest signal. You don't have to direct it to it. The repeater should be high up on a wall, and it also needs to be near a power socket because it needs to be supplied with a 12 volt power supply. Signal testing. As with all panels, it's critical that we test the signal strength, particularly the GSM network. To do this, we can power the panel up on the batteries, having once installed the SIM card and the GPRS module, and then give it approximately 5 minutes. By pressing the OK button repeatedly, it will scroll through system troubles and then display the RSSI signal, the reverse strength signal indicator. It will either say poor, good or strong. Ideally, we're looking for good or strong. It will work in a poor signal area, but we recommend you fit the external antenna to it if this is the case. Once the devices have been enrolled to the panel, then it will all display this traffic light signalling, i.e. green for strong, amber for good and red for poor. So you can test the device in situ without having to walk back to the panel to ensure you have a correct signal. The PM33 panel is fully compatible with all PowerMaster accessories. Here we show some of those devices available to you at ADT. We have a new panic button, the PB102PG2. As you can see on earlier versions of the panel, version 17, then this device enrolled as a key fob, but it still functioned as a panic button. The panel asks you to select the star button function, but this is not applicable. From version 18 and above, this has been corrected. How to fit the panel? Well, obviously this is common sense. The main point here is C, the back tamper. You should ensure that you fit a screw into the back tamper, so if somebody tries to remove the panel from the wall, it will snap off and ensure that a tamper alarm is sent. The photograph clearly shows the position of the back tamper and where the screw should be installed. This slide shows the main features on the panel. As you can see, point out the back tamper and the battery connection and the 12 volt DC power supply. It also points out where the GSM 350 module will sit. In the top left hand corner you'll see a new button, the Enroll button. The Enroll button is used to enroll the first KP250 keypad to the panel. This slide is copied from a manual and shows all the main features on the panel itself. We'll give you a moment or two to look through this yourselves. The next few slides will show us how to connect the KP250 keypad to the PM33 panel. The first step is to insert the batteries into the back of the keypad. The AC power supply is not applicable to the UK market. The keypad is very flexible. As you can see, not only can it be mounted on a wall, it can also be mounted as a desktop to enable people to move it around their house, home, etc. To enroll the KP250, the panel should be open. The first step is to press the Enroll button until the green LED next to it lights. As you release it, the green LED will start to flash, showing that the panel is ready to accept the KP250 for enrolment. The next step is to wake the KP250 keypad up. This can be done by pressing any key. Then press and hold the star button until the power light lights up, and then release the button. Once you've released the button, the KP250 keypad will start its enrolment procedure. During enrolment, the KP250 keypad may display busy, keypad is active. Once the enrolment procedure is finished, the keypad, as you can see on the right hand side, will display not ready memory. This is normal at this stage and communication has been established. Here you see the main buttons on the KP250 keypad. You can see the arm away, the arm at home, the disarm and the exit delay. In programming, the buttons are slightly different. If you look to the bottom of the screen, you will see an escape button. rather than pressing the open padlock, we press the escape button. You have the forward and back arrows just like before, and you have the OK button, as on the other panels. The delete key is now the delete pin that's on the bottom right hand side, rather than pressing the open padlock. Programming is done just the same way as a PM10 or a PM30. By using the forward and back keys, we can scroll through the menu. By pressing the OK, we can enter. By pressing the escape key, we jump back one level. And by pressing the delete key or the abort key, we jump out of the screen or we delete an item. Adding, deleting and modifying devices is identical in the keypad as it would be on any other panel. You should all be now familiar with this procedure. So enter the install menu with the default code 0960, scroll forward to add new devices, enroll devices and enroll your devices in the normal way. Remember that all devices that come with the kit are pre-enrolled, pre-installed, ready to go. The only thing you really need to do there is perhaps change the zone names and the zone types. Enrollment is carried out in the same way as a PM10 or a PM30 panel. Here we show the zone types used mainly by ADT, or mostly by ADT more correctly. There are other zone types. For those you should refer to the installer menu. Devices exactly the same as a PM10 or PM30. Rather than use the open padlock, we use the delete key, i.e. the waste bin. To modify a device, exactly the same procedure. Using like-for-like devices, exactly the same as a PM10 or a PM30 panel. Setting up communications. To set up the communications on a PM33 panel is identical to a PM10 or a PM30. Most of you will be very familiar how to do this. The following few slides show how this is done. This slide shows the differences between a poor signal, a good signal and a strong signal. As you can see, it can be as little as 1% between poor and good and strong. The panel will work in any of these modes, poor, good or strong. The only time it will not function is if you see GSM net fail. GSM net fail indicates there is no GSM network in the area your panel is in. Set up communications. We enter the installer menu. We go forward to communication, enter communication menu and then into CS reporting. We then follow the steps just as we would for a PM10 or a PM30. We set up the receiver account, we go to the upload download menu, the GPRS upload download and enter the SIM number. Remember, we replace a 00 at the start of the SIM with a plus. To enter a plus, we first push the hash key and then the 1 key. Once this is completed, exit the installer mode completely to allow the panel time to connect to the servers. Next step is to test the system is working correctly. All these tests shall be carried out before you sign the system off. First step is diagnostics, so enter installer menu, diagnostics, wireless devices and select test all devices. This isn't a walk test. What this is actually doing is testing the signal strength between the device and the panel and the device. It will indicate if there are any problems at this time. GSM GPRS test is critical to the functioning of the panel. To signal the ARC, the panel needs to have a good GPRS signal. So it's critical that you test both these before you leave the premises. No GPRS signal means no signal to the ARC. To test the GPRS, again it's in the diagnostic menu and we select cellular and we press OK. It can then take between 5 and 10 minutes to register the server. Please give the panel time. The unit will eventually come back and read unit is OK or test failed. If the test has failed, then you need to perhaps reposition your panel or double check you have a network connection in your area. Number verification test. Again, all ADT panels must have this test carried out before you sign the system off. To test the SIM number, again diagnostic menu, go forward to SIM number test and test by IP receiver 1. Again the panel will read please wait. This test again can take between 5 and 10 minutes, so please again give the panel time. The unit, it should come back and say unit OK. If it doesn't, then most likely you've perhaps put the wrong digit or missed a digit from the phone number, or perhaps not put the plus at the start of the phone number. Double check this and then retest the panel. The next few slides show how to connect the Elmdene siren to the PM33 panel. First of all, you should ensure that the zone expander module is fitted to the panel. If it's not, then power down the panel, both AC and DC, before fitting the zone expander, and then power up the panel after you've fitted the zone expander. Otherwise, the panel will not see the zone expander. You should then verify that the expander is enabled. By default, all ADT panels will come as enabled. To check this, go into installer mode, go into option 5 outputs, and then go into enable expander. This slide shows the expander module in place with the cable plugged in to the main board. This is an example of how you'll set up the zone expander for RedCare. The numbers on the left hand side, i.e. pin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., refer to the inputs on the expander module. We'll give you a moment to take this slide in. As you can see, you can configure the expander board to either be an output or to be a zone, i.e. an input. To do this, you follow the following steps. To enrol hardwired devices to the PM33 panel, the coding is changed a little from the PM10 and PM30 panel. So first of all, we access the installer menu and we navigate to zones and devices and add a new device. We then select enrol now and enter the ID. First we enter 051. This tells the panel that you are installing a hardwired zone, and then the pin number. So for example, if you're enrolling a hold up zone 2, you connect it to pin 2, you would enter 051 0002 and press OK. It should then come back and say that the ID has been accepted. Similar for zone 3 and zone 4, you would enter 051 0003 or 0004, etc. Following is a typical example of how you would set up the zones and the outputs and inputs for a RedCare system. Again, we'll give you a moment or two to look at this screen. This is our diagram that some of you will be familiar with from the PM30 panel. This is how to connect your hardwired siren to the panel. Please note the 2.2k resistors. Again, we'll give you a moment or two to take this in. To enrol the siren to the panel, we select zones and devices and add a new device. We enter the ID 051 0002. This will tell the panel it's a hardwired zone, and then follow the following steps. Again, a moment or two to look at this screen. The following couple of slides show how to connect the speech box to the panel. The speech box is currently a temporary fix so that the panel can chime when people enter or exit the building. Connections on the I/O board are labelled the same as on the original expander for the speech box, i.e. 12 to 12 volts, ground to ground, speaker to speaker, tamper to tamper. Then go into programming, go into custom names, go into voice box mode, and you can select either voice box mixed or voice box only. Note, for the tamper you will have to program it as a 051 from a hardwired zone. Make sure you leave it as an end-of-line resistor, but do not fit a resistor as it is already installed in the speech box. The next few slides show us how to set up partitions on the PM33 panel. PM33 panel has 3 partitions, P1, P2, P3. However, it comes enabled with just partition 1 enabled. The first step is to go into the menus and enable the partitions. Enter installer mode, go forward to option 12, partitioning, and enable partitions. Once you've set the partitions, the keypad will display P1, P2 and P3. At the moment all your zones are in partition 1, so you'll have to go back into zones and devices and move your zones into the partitions required. Remember that if a zone is part of more than one partition, then that zone will only arm when all the partitions it is associated with are armed. This is a photograph of the KP250 with 3 partitions. You can see it shows as houses, partition 1, 2 and 3. At the moment on this particular panel there are only devices in partition 1. This is an example, a typical example of using partitions in a workplace. The area in this example has 2 floors. On the top floor is secure data storage room which must be armed at all times. The ground floor has to be on set during office hours. This system can be split into 2 partitions. Partition 1 for the ground floor and partition 2 for the first floor. Example, then all the devices in partition 1 would be the ground floor and all the devices on partition 2 would be the first floor. Following is a list of what you may see when you scroll through trouble on the panel. Again, this is the same list as you've seen before for the PM10 and the PM30 panel. So a tamper alarm is an historic event. It was in tamper but it's now cleared, so read the event and then arm and disarm the panel to clear. A tamper open is a current event, i.e. there is a zone in tamper. The good news is that the zone that is in tamper, if you walk around the building, will be flashing to show you it's in tamper. You have to clear the tamper and then follow the same procedure, arm, disarm to clear. An alarm memory is an event in alarm memory. Keep pushing OK to read the events and then set and reset to clear. In the case of a confirmed alarm, the reset should be done via the monitoring station. Zone violated means the zone's open. There's a door, window open, somebody's walking around the building. Device is updating. You've seen this when you update sensors. So as you enroll a sensor and you put a sensor into the system and you escape the engineering menu, the installer menu, you will see this as it updates itself. Device is one way. Okay, for some reason the device isn't communicating with the panel. Check whether there's a source of interference or the battery is dead, but long before the battery dies it will tell the customer that the battery is going. The easiest way is delete and re-enroll the device. If nothing's wrong with the device, it will enroll correctly. Device is not networked. Again, something's gone wrong in the enrolment procedure. You can force them to tamper by pressing the tamper switch to enroll, and this will automatically enroll the device after 5 minutes. But again, it may be quicker to follow the above, i.e. delete the device and re-enroll the device. Some more things you may see when you're troubleshooting the panel. GSM net failure is the one we don't want to see. That's telling us there is no GSM network available in our area. You may be able to get it by moving the panel to a better position or installing a GSM antenna. The RSSI signal, we're looking for good or strong preferably. Remember, if it's poor, then again we recommend you fit the GSM antenna. GSM COM failure. Again, this is indicating the panel's not communicating with the ARC. So once again, check the signal strength and ensure that nobody's changed the receiver numbers on the panel. In the case of ADT panels, the APN and GPRS name are already set for you. You don't need to change those. SIM fail. If the SIM fails, it's more often than not that the SIM card's not actually installed correctly. Before you attempt to refit the SIM card, make sure you power down both the AC and DC before replacing the SIM card or before refitting the SIM card. Denied by the server. This isn't one we see very often, but denied by the server means that every panel has a unique ID to connect to the server. If this happens, then you need to contact the central station and advise them of the panel ID, and they will put the panel online manually. Unit's OK, that's what we're looking for. The test has gone successfully and everything is ready to go. If it comes back and says SIM not verified, again go to diagnostics and test the SIM number. If it still comes back and says not verified, then check the SIM number that you've installed is the same as the SIM number on your card. The following slide shows how to default the panel back by factory default. So if you're using the training equipment and test equipment and you're happy and satisfied, you know what you're doing, now's the time to carry out the factory default. Enter the installer menu, go forward to option 9, factory default, and press OK. If you want to leave the KP250 keypad connected, it gives you the option here. If not, you delete all devices and OK to exit. The panel's now ready for the next engineers. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, please contact the ARC or Tyco Technical Support.